All right, guys, I finally got some sun today. Golly. All right, so what I'm going to work on is this inner fender. I'm trying to figure out some wire routing and that type of stuff. Now I'm just going to run the wiring in its stock location across the inner fender. There's 3 holes already in the inner fender. And originally, they had this style of clip right here, just a metal clip with 2 almost shark teeth on the end there. So after you do your work on your inner fender and get them painted, and then you go to snap those in there, these tear into the paint a little bit, especially if they move side to side at all. They'll just chew the crap out of the paint. Now the top is bent up, if you can see that kind of kick up a little bit on each end, and it's to keep from chafing the wire. Now the original wiring harness was wrapped in black electrical tape. The whole thing is just wrapped in black electrical tape. So as far as the looks department, it's kind of lacking, I guess we could say. But I don't like these clips because they tear up the paint and everything. Just a good spot for rust to start forming, and not that it would probably ever rust through. It's just the fact that you got a nice detailed engine bay, and then you've got a couple little spots or little speckles of rust right there from that chewing into it. So I have not seen this done. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but this is what I decided to do. I'm a big fan of the Billet Specialties line clamps. This is for like your fuel lines and brake lines and stuff, which can be used for electrical as well. But these are 1/2 inch. These are for 1/2 inch line, and I think that's the biggest ones they make in the singles like that. But I ordered 3/8 and 5/16. So the 1/2 inch will fit this braided wire loom covering here, wire cover. This is the split style. You can get this either split or not split, and I like the split. It's just a little bit easier to mess with. But that is pretty much what it's going to look like when I, coming out of the firewall. It'll go into that like that, and then up to where I got in here somewhere, and that's where it kind of splits off, and I'll go to a smaller diameter of this braided wire loom. I've got a bunch of this stuff here. I ordered all kinds of this stuff when I was doing my hardtop and wound up with a lot of extra. But anyway, it's pretty much, this is 1/2 inch diameter, which fits inside the 1/2 inch clamps. This is the 3/8 diameter, which fits inside the 3/8 clamps perfectly. So, and it just kind of depends. As your harness starts out coming out of the firewall, it comes up here, so it's pretty big. And then it thins out as it gets into stuff. So, which it does tee into a few things, like your headlight wires are always teed and stuff like that. But so I'm gonna break it down into smaller diameter wire to do all the front and the one going all the way across to the other side. But to me this looks nice, but I did get into an issue here messing with those. So those clamps, they come with a countersunk stainless steel Allen button, which is kind of nice, but they just don't fit in there very well. And I'm changing everything to stainless button heads, so I decided to change those out. Those clamps, the stupid threads on them, I don't know if they're fine thread or if they're metric, but I didn't have a nut on the place that would fit those. I would have had to go buy some. So I just kind of went through my hardware and I found stainless steel Allen buttons that fit through there. These are 1/4x20s. So I'm actually going to weld flange nuts on the back side, so when I'm assembling the car after paint, I don't have to reach up in there like a pretzel and try to hold a wrench while I'm tightening that down. These will just screw right on there, one man show, and be done. I am one short, so I'm going to have to go to probably either Lowe's or my local Ace Hardware and buy one more, which I'll buy a few more just to have extras. But anyway, so I'm using a socket cap in this one just for mock-up, just to hold it on there. But that's how I'm going to go about that. And then now I'm messing with these other clamps here, the smaller ones, and I'm trying to figure out on the front how I'm going to route that. Now here's something that I got to show you that this does not look good. So what I found out was I have always bought the Billet Specialties line clamps, these here, the different sizes, and that's what I have on my hardtop. What I noticed was Summit was out, or they were on back order or something, and it said need it sooner, and it showed a Summit branded listing of them clamps, and they're identical, other than they're a little bit shinier. These were $8.99 a pack versus $20 for the Billet Specialties, so you're getting them for half price or less than. So I went ahead and bought Summit ones in 5/16 and 3/8 to save myself some money. But when you get them in, this is the problem that you run into. If you can see that countersink bolt hanging out the top edge of that right there, that's all the way down, and that's how that's going to look. So I am going to change it out to the stainless steel Allen buttons. So, and it's just kind of, that's my theme, but also it looks better in the clamp in my opinion. So now I'm going to paint these clamps black because I don't like the dull aluminum, so I'm just going to paint them black, and I'm just going to use some black epoxy primer. It'll stick to that aluminum pretty good, and I'm not even going to worry about top coating. I'm just going to spray it with the epoxy black and call it a day. But I am going to have polished stainless steel button head Allens in there to give it a little bit of, you know, hardware detail. But I like this. I love this new style braided loom. To me, this is really clean looking. It's also a little bit more modern than the, you know, the old school convoluted loom stuff. And I sure like it better than black electrical tape. I'm going for an original style look on the car, but I am changing a lot of stuff, but you know, just to clean it up, make it look a little bit more detailed. So it'll end up working out pretty good. Now, I will tell you, if you are thinking about using this style clamp, this is a, you know, your front turn signal harness here. This is what you buy. This goes to your turn signal housing, and it's a 2-wire deal, but they come with this rubber tube on them, just round rubber hose tube. And the 3/8 clamp fits that exactly, so that's 3/8 OD tube right there. But pretty interesting. If you didn't want to put that fancy loom on there, this clamp fits that perfectly. So pretty neat. If you didn't want to go with the braided loom stuff, but I'm going to go with the braided loom on everything just to make it look a little, you know, so it all matches, we'll say. But the other thing I got to figure out is where I'm going to mount my windshield washer pump. This is a universal Anco electric washer pump, and I'm wanting to put it somewhere up here. I'm going to be mounting my windshield washer jar here, but I want this pump here. Now keep in mind, your washer pump needs to be very close to your tank, basically, your fluids in. You don't want it way back here because it'll lose suction. So to get a good strong, you know, spray on your windshield, you need this as close as you can get it to the washer pump. So I'm thinking about putting it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my angle finder up here on this, and I'm going to match the top of this so I don't get it crooked. But these are slotted, so I'm going to use stainless steel Allen buttons to bolt this to the inner fender, but I'm also going to weld flange nuts to the back, so I again can one-man show it. But anyway, these are pretty cool. It's just an inlet and an outlet, and that's pretty much it. So the other thing I'm trying to, which I've already got figured out now, but I was trying to figure out how I was going to route the hose on this. One hose is going to go straight to the windshield washer jar lid. The other one has got to go all the way to your squirters on your windshield wiper extensions. So I was trying to debate, I don't have room in this sleeve to run a hose in there, and I don't want to double stack smaller clamps on there to run a hose down and in. So what I'm going to do is kind of what I did to my hardtop. I'm going to mount that pump, and then off to the side of it, I'm going to drill a hole in here and put a rubber grommet in it for the hose to come out and loop back into the inner fender and be on the back side. So I'm going to get some bolts, probably some 1/4x20 bolts, and I'm just going to weld a few of them through here and then drill another hole in this back here and put a rubber grommet on it. So the hose will go back to the back side of the inner fender and up into those. I'm just going to use the old school universal loom clamps back here so I don't waste my nice ones. Find them right here for you so you know what I'm talking about. Them old school hardware store ones, like these. So I'm going to weld bolts, just the head of the bolt with the, you know, the thread part sticking out, and then that way this, when you run that hose through there, you can stick that on there, run the hose through there, and put a nut on there and tighten it down. So this will all be hidden inside the inner fender. But I want to run that hose back up through here on the inside, drill another hole in this for a rubber grommet to come through so that hose can come through. You also have to put a hole in your cowl and put a rubber grommet on it. And that's exactly how I done this. So this is how I done the washer setup on this, but I mounted the pump here on the four-door. I'm going to mount it here. But I've got the hose going through a grommet in here and up into some bolts that's welded to the back of the inner fender. Now you can't see it, but there's another hole in the top of the cowl up in here with a grommet on it. So that hose goes into the cowl at that point. You have to have your panel off here The hose comes up here and goes into a T. Your wiper extension's right here. That's your little squirter right there. So you'll put one end of the hose on that. There's a brass tube that sticks off of those. So you stick one end of your hose there and you run another piece of hose over to the other one. So that's how you get your windshield squirters to work. So this car, I hid all the wiring on it, and I'm not going through that kind of hassle on the four-door. So to me, this looks, you know, it's nice and clean and sanitary because there's no visible wiring. I mean, there is, but it's routed pretty nice. But with this one, all of the wiring harness runs through the inner fender and up on the inside and over. And I actually have a convoluted rubber tube out of a late model car. It's just a random one that was on the ground over at my local LKQ. There's all kinds of different designs of those. If you go to a pull apart salvage, sometimes you'll see them. They go between the door and the cowl for your you know, your power window wiring and stuff. And to me, that's pretty cool and clean design done like that. But I done that on a 56 Bel Air probably about, I don't know, 13 years ago. But anyway, I've done it on the hardtop as well. But this car, I'm going for the more original look, and this will be a little bit more simple. If I have to add anything, you know, wiring wise to the car, you know, like put something else on it that is electric, I'll have enough room to run in here in the harness and hide in here. So I think it's pretty cool. So this is going to be a big job, but that was pretty much the introduction to a lot of the thought process that I had to put in on this to see how it's going to go. So still waiting on a part to come in the mail, and the mail ran a while ago and it didn't come in. So that's a bummer. Hell, I forgot. Thanks for watching.